Every who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton, but where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and low prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
Guess what, everyone? I am the narrator and host of a brand new podcast called Year One. It's about a teacher's first year of teaching third grade, and it's been produced by Share Your Genius and is brought to you by Carnegie Learning, leaders in curriculum for kindergarten through 12th grade. I felt so compelled to be part of this partnership because we're a trifecta. There's Carnegie Learning and teachers and parents, and together we have to work in tandem to ensure our children's success in school. Our kids are in school 8 hours a day. So the lion's share of their learning comes from their teachers. So it's important for us to be their allies and address any concerns and make sure that our kids have a growth mindset and keep improving year on year. We are in the midst of a national teacher shortage. 60,000 educators have left the profession this year alone. Why? Because of their salaries and low wages, and being understaffed and under-resourced in schools. I want you to hear directly from the teacher we're shadowing, Miss Jenna MacNulty, on what she's going through every day, from the wins to the challenges. I think it's so important that we hear her perspective, and I want to galvanize parents and caregivers to do our part at home. Now, here's the trailer of Year One. Go subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts and learn more at yearonepodcasts.com. From elementary classrooms to high school hallways, teachers are stepping into their first year in education, while the country is in the midst of a national teacher shortage. To understand the state of education, we've created Year One, a podcast that chronicles one teacher's first year of teaching. And our teacher? Her name is Jenna.
I've wanted to be a teacher ever since I was younger. I don't think I've ever thought of myself as anything else but a teacher.
Jenna is fresh out of college and stepping into her first year of teaching third grade. But will she want to be an educator when the year is over?
I started to cry in front of my principal. She knows me. She knows that I was having a hard time.
Subscribe to Year One to follow Jenna through every moment, emotion, and hard decision that comes with her first year. There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our Mom Sense and Dad Sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and have had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton.
It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode. Did you know that 44% of new teachers are considering leaving the profession, and 75% of educators in the U.S. don't feel valued by the media and society? Amid a national teacher shortage and growing disillusionment with the profession, Carnegie Learning has just launched Year One, a podcast featuring a real first-year teacher that pulls back the curtain on one of America's toughest and most undervalued professions. It aims to shine a light on the realities of the state of education, how teachers are adapting, and how parents can foster a deeper understanding of what goes on in the classroom. This episode really hits home and is so special to me because I am narrating Year One, and today I am joined by the other two spokes on the wheel, legs of the table trifecta. I do feel kids need to have 3 things taken care of to be healthy, happy, and successful in their lives and student lives. It's the parents in the home, the teachers in the school, and their curriculum. And so together, as our forces combine, like Captain Planet, there's me and Jenna MacNulty, our 3rd grade teacher, who is the star of year 1, and Janet Irwin, who is from Carnegie Learning. Jenna MacNulty's passion for teaching started as a young girl when she would assemble a class of stuffed animal students to teach in her family's basement. It was always a career goal for her, and now she's in her 2nd year of teaching as a 5th grade math teacher in Indiana. Going into teaching, she found it hard to find the real stories of real educators, so she spent her entire first year recording her journey on year 1, where listeners can experience the ups and downs of her classroom of 26 lively 3rd graders. Janet Irwin is the Vice President of Marketing at Carnegie Learning, a leading provider of ed tech and curriculum and professional development solutions for K-12 schools. Janet leads a team of 17 creative professionals crafting brand and campaign strategies to help bring these innovative programs to life. And over the past 6 years, she has grown her career while also growing her family. She is the mother of 5-year-old Benny and 2-year-old Ada. And as a first-year school parent, Jenna draws on her experience in education to support her son's learning journey. Jenna and Janet, welcome to That's Total Mom Sense.
Thank you for having us.
It's so good to see you.
You too. I feel like we're so used to hearing one another's voices as we listen to the podcast in our earbuds, and now we get to see each other face to face and have a little roundtable of our own, which is so cool.
It is. It's very special.
So let's start with questions for Jenna, because I know the parents who are listening really want to understand your perspective and see from your vantage point, because you're with our kids more than we are on weekdays. Let's start with, why you wanted to become a teacher in the first place and what drew you to teaching kids.
Growing up, I feel like teaching was always just what I wanted to be. Sometimes kids are just prone to have one job in their brain when they're asked what they want to be when they grow up. And for me, that was a teacher. I enjoyed going to school every morning. Some kids had to get dragged out of bed. I was up and ready, ready to be in the car when my mom asked. She taught elementary before I was born, and then took a little break while she raised me and my 3 other siblings. And then throughout my elementary and middle school years and high school years, she also was a preschool teacher. So just like being surrounded by education in all facets growing up, I just loved it. And I think that's why I wanted to become a teacher.
That's awesome. And Janet, I want to toss it to you now. What led you to be in ed tech?
It was the company, Carnegie Learning. I born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I heard about Carnegie Learning and what they were doing with math education, and I was never really good at math. And I was in marketing. I was working in an agency at the time. And I really wanted to do something that I felt was making an impact in the world, because we spend so much time at work, and I wanted it to mean something, that I was doing something for people. And I knew about Carnegie Learning and what they were doing with math learning, and they were using AI to help students learn better. They're using it to understand how they learn. They're backed by research, and they created the software that acts as a one-to-one coach with students so that they can get back on track if they need it. And I just thought it was just such a powerful tool. And as I learned more about the company and saw that there was an opportunity, I really wanted to be part of it, and joined a very passionate group of people who were, it was a small boutique company at the time. And now, I started 6 years ago. Now it's just blown up. I mean, it went from that boutique math ed tech company to really a pioneer in K-12 education. We're award-winning products in math, literacy, world languages. We provide professional learning services and tutoring services. We're in more than 4,500 school districts. It's been a crazy 6 years, but a really amazing experience, and just working with just such passionate people that are just trying to do the best they can for these students.
And now tell us from, both of your perspectives, what the impetus was for year one to launch and why you both decided we have to be on board.
We understand that it's the teachers at the center of it, and we're building these tools and services for them. With them, it's designed to help them because we know that they need it. I mean, it's tough for them. More and more teachers are leaving the profession, as you mentioned earlier, and we thought that maybe if we could just shine a light on the teacher experience and just simply tell the story of a teacher and let people see what it's like, that might make a difference. But also for the teachers who are considering leaving and they hear Jenna's story and how passionate she is about teaching and how she's overcoming these challenges, and they decide, I'm going to stick it out too. Or for the aspiring teachers who are debating whether or not to do it because of the money or whatever, maybe, they'll power through like Jenna did and they'll continue to teach, because those are the people we want in this classroom. So we want the people that are really passionate about teaching, and they have that empathy and that kindness and that patience that just makes them wonderful people that can handle it. And we just wanted people to feel like teachers to feel like they weren't alone, and then everyone else listening to just understand how hard it is.
There are a lot of quote unquote mentor teachers that you can find online, like veteran teachers who are showing their way of how things work in the classroom and their experiences. But there's not a lot of like first year, second year, beginning year teachers showing the like raw, real experience. There's like young TikTok people who show like all the trends and stuff, but no one was really showing like the raw and real like ins and outs of the good and bad of the classroom. So going into my first year, I thought it would be a really cool opportunity to be able to kind of document, like I said, the ups and the downs of my whole entire first year. So that way I can listen back and really think like, oh man, I grew. Like I would not do that the same way now. Like I'm already having those moments listening to it this far out. But I just thought it would be an interesting thing to document just the vulnerability of being a first year and figuring it out one step at a time with every mistake that you could possibly make and all of the amazing memories that come with it as well.
For parents, we really feel like we don't know what goes on. I see what they're working on for homework, but our school kind of mandates let them have executive functioning and do work independently. And I was learning for the first time, I didn't do this in school, but they said, teachers have said, we want them to learn the basics. We assign a worksheet. They take the worksheet home. They take it out of their backpack. They, do it as best as they can, put it back in their backpack, and remember to bring it to class. So it's not so much like getting answers right or wrong. It's having that autonomy.
I agree. The not knowing part was my biggest fear and like discomfort when, Benny started school is I have no idea what's going on. And I felt absolutely helpless. Like I don't know what's happening, and I don't know if he's okay and if there's going to be someone there for him in those stressful moments, because he's a sensitive kid like his mom. And I knew that like one little thing could happen this early and it could lead to him hating school or hating learning. And I know how important it is to love learning. I want him to love learning so much. I want him to be a lifelong learner. Poor teachers, right, are juggling. How many kids do you have in your classroom, Jenna? And how do you can't just share that with every single parent. We just have to trust you.
It's interesting because it's definitely a two-way street. Like as a teacher, I know exactly what's going on in the classroom, but I have no idea what's going on at home. Like I have absolutely no idea where these kids are coming from, if they're coming from a supportive, happy family, if they're coming from areas of struggle. Like it's, as a teacher, I kind of had to connect the dots almost a little bit with a lot of my students to really figure out who they are and what they're coming to school with, like where their starting point is at. That was something in college, like my professors would like say all the time. It's like, you have to meet the kids where they're at, no matter where they're coming from. But it's hard as a teacher when you don't know where they're coming from. Yes, you can kind of make assumptions, but not all assumptions are true. So yeah, it's interesting hearing it from the flip side, because I'm like, I know how they act in school, but I have no idea how they act at home.
Right, right. I want to know, does that bring, clearly it does bring this added pressure for the students that don't have a supportive environment at home and, are going through any kind of trauma. It's like they're going to bring that to the classroom with them. And if they're acting out, it's because of, it's just kind of the ramifications of all that they're going through. And, now you have to manage that while getting a lesson plan completed. So that's like incredibly challenging. How do you do that? And it's like, just emotionally, draining.
One of the biggest lessons I had to learn during my first year of teaching is that it's okay if my lessons don't go as planned. Like as a teacher, you will spend so much time lesson planning and creating these awesome, engaging activities for your students. And 0% of them will go the way that you want them to. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But like I had to tell myself over and over that if I had to stop a lesson to help a student self-regulate if something was happening, or if I had to pull a small group to settle an argument that was happening, or any of those sorts of things, I always had to remind myself that that's not a failure that I had to leave the rest of the class for a second. That's a win that I get this chance to help these students in a one-on-one or small group like environment. And that was really hard for me to understand because every time I had to stop, I was like, well, there goes my lesson. Like I went to school to become a teacher and I'm not even teaching right now. But teaching is so much more than just the lessons that you're doing for these students.
There was a moment I had like that where I realized that Benny's teacher put Benny first. And not only did she put Benny first, she put me first. One of the hardest moments I had so far since Benny started school is it was, I think, the third day of school. And we, the school recommended get them on the bus from day one, like get them used to that. And these poor kindergartners are like wearing backpacks that are like twice their weight. And he's carrying his little backpack and getting ready to step up on the big bus. And he steps up and I see him bobbing his head up the aisle of the bus and then back down, back up again, back down. And I swear it was the longest 2 minutes of my life. We're stopping all this traffic and he won't sit down. And I don't know what's going on. Like he won't sit. And I don't know if he can't find a seat or if no one's letting him sit there and he's stopping traffic. And then finally the bus driver had to open the door and say, hey, can you help him? He won't sit down. So we had to get on the bus. And it was probably humiliating for him and just say like, Benny, you got to sit down. You're stopping traffic. Please sit down. Everything's okay. I remember just like seeing his face looking out the window as the bus was driving away, holding back tears. And he was just gone. And I was like, oh my God, is he going to be okay? And then I remembered that the school counselor had said during the orientation, like, if any of your kids are coming into school, especially in these first few weeks and they're not really in a good headspace, they might need some extra love, just let us know. And like, we'll help them. Like, it's good that we know or know to prepare for. So I emailed his teacher and I just let her know what happened. And 3 minutes later, she responded. And it was 1 minute before the bell was about to ring and she was about to teach this lively classroom of 20 kids for the third time ever. She fit an email in to just let me know he was good. He was playing with clay. He was in good spirits. Everything was fine. And then she emailed again later saying that she found him a bus partner so that he didn't have any more trouble on the bus. And it floored me. I could not believe like this little act of kindness meant so much to me because I was like, she put me first. Like she put us first. She wanted me to know that she knew that my day would be crushed. Because she's a mom too. She has a 6-month-old and a 3-year-old. And she knew like I'm going to take a minute just to make sure this parent knows that he's fine because I don't want her day to suck. And that was the moment. I mean, that was when I was like, all right, he's in good hands. Like she cares. And yeah, your story and, your response, Jenna, to your students and teaching the whole student and putting their needs first and addressing those tough moments, putting the lesson aside for them. That's what parents want to hear. They want to hear that like you're putting their needs first and you're there for them in the way you need them to be, especially in these young years. So
I really do think that teachers can be our very first mentors in life. My second grade teacher, who I'm in touch with again, and I've had her on the podcast, her name is Miss Lynn Coy Ogan. She knew me from before I, was, brought into her class. And my mom actually advocated because she knew I would just love to have Miss Coy as a teacher and was like, Kanika has to be in your class. And thankfully, first day of school, it worked out. But as an example, she did assign seeds and she knew that I had like this interesting sense of human connection and I was an empath. And there was a young girl named Allison who would get bullied, had a short, boyish haircut, Coke bottle glasses, and Miss Coy put me next to Allison. And I looked at her, I gave her a sideways glance, and I was like, my friends are sitting all the way over there. Like, why did you put me here? And she just looked at me. She was like, you'll be fine. You're going to make new friends, and you're going to make friends with who you're sitting next to. And so Allison and I started talking. And I was just so floored by how, you can so quickly connect with someone. And I was like, she had such a sense of humor and personality, and we didn't know her from before. And so later, when kids made fun of her at the blacktop, I was like, don't say that. Allison's my friend, and I would stick up for her. And it took my teacher to notice that, I'm going to help her out. And I'm also going to bring out the, personality traits and qualities that Kanika has. And I'll never forget it. I'm 42 and I'll never forget it.
I think from a teacher's perspective with seating charts specifically, I feel like almost like a mastermind trying to fit people where I know that they'll be challenged or where they'll get support from friends or where they won't be distracted by other people. There's so many factors that go into it. But I think especially at the elementary level, when you're kind of required, I guess, to have these sorts of like routine seating structures where these students are, it's almost like a powerful tool in the classroom to help students become the best learners that they can be. And also, like you were just saying with your own story, to help students create those relationships and create those meaningful memories and moments in school that shape how they view school and shape how they view others. So yeah, I just think it's interesting from both perspectives.
Are you doing anything to help those kids that might be struggling socially to make friends?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, with placing them in specific groups, or like if we're doing group activities or playing games or just working with different people, setting them up with people that I think that they would work well socially and academically with is huge. Also, at the school that I was at during my first year of teaching, our counselor held a social group for students that we thought needed that extra boost of having a good example of what a group of friends looks like and how you should talk to your peers and how you can get along and just be social with one another. So that was a really cool thing I got to not be a part of. I wasn't part of the group, but I got to recommend students to join that group, obviously with their parents' permission and X, Y, and Z. But it's interesting to see all the different things that come into play, both teacher-wide and school-wide and counselor-wide and all these different things to make sure that students are set up for success socially as well.
I wanted to switch gears and talk about parent-teacher conferences. We have a special episode dedicated to exactly that on year one. What would your ideal parent-teacher conference interaction be as a teacher?
My parent-teacher conferences last year were around this time. They were like in late fall, not quite like winter yet. Honestly, the only reason I was so nervous about them, I wasn't nervous like talking to the parents. I knew I was going to be fine, but I was nervous talking about the students because at this point I'm like, I've only known your student for 2 months and you've known your child since they were born. Like I was like, I don't feel qualified telling you what I see about your student because I've only known them for such a short period of time. Like they might be new to this school, still getting acclimated with where the room is in the physical building. Like there are so many different factors to it. If it is towards the beginning of the year, any insight that you have on your student that you would like to share that you think it's important for their teacher to know. Now, obviously, don't say your life story for 30 minutes while I just sit and nod my head. But like any information that would be beneficial for the teacher to know in an educational setting. I had a few parent-teacher conferences this past year where parents really like shared the raw and real of what was going on inside of their family structure and what they were doing outside of school. And it really opened my eyes up about these like handful of students in my room, because I would never think that they had that going on, or the opposite. Like I was mentioning before, meet that student where they're at, knowing like having the information to actually connect the dots instead of just making assumptions. Yeah, just sharing anything that you think would be beneficial for your teacher to know.
There are so many parents who, for whatever reason, don't even show up and they're not there. And now you have this like question mark.
I had that happen to me last year. One of my students' parents never signed up for a conference. I reached out a couple of different times, and they never responded. And even later in the school year, when I was starting to have some questions about the student, or like some behavioral thing came up, I reached out to both mommy and dad. I never got a response the entire school year. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, I'm doing everything I can to support the student, but I'm missing that critical piece. Whether that critical piece is like a loving, supporting family home, that doesn't matter. I just want the information. Obviously, I hope it is, but I want the information so that I can better support your student or figure out what I need to do to get them where they need to be. So yeah, it's a shame when parents don't communicate whatsoever, because like you were talking about, the trifecta of it all, it really is an integral piece of the puzzle when it comes to a student's education. A lot happens at school, but also a lot happens at home.
You talking about that on the podcast was such a moment for me as a parent, because I do not want to be any sort of blocker on this learning journey for Betty. Like, I want to do everything I can to support teachers and whatever they need out of me. Like, I just want to be able to support and be a good partner to both of my kids' teachers and both of my kids' lives. I kind of made like a promise to myself and to my kids, like, I'm going to just be the best partner I can possibly be. But I want to ask you, can you describe what that looks like? Like, Jenna, like, what does a perfect parent-teacher relationship look like? Because I kind of get, you talk about like share things about your students, about your kids, and let you in a little bit on what's going on at home. But I also like don't want to over communicate. I don't want to stress the teacher out. I don't want to be like too much either. So could you just describe to me the perfect parent-teacher relationship?
I wish I had the perfect definition. I mean, like, it depends on the child, if I'm being honest. It depends on the student, how much communication and how much information is needed and how much support and like verbiage back and forth needs to happen. Some of my students, I could get the bare minimum from their parents and I could give them like a great education, like no puzzle pieces are missing. And then others, I really rely on the parents to keep me in the loop about things that are going on. So I wish there was one specific definition. The biggest thing I would say, though, is keeping that open line of communication, but also giving the benefit of the doubt to the teacher. Obviously, everybody is flawed. People make mistakes. Things happen. But like one of the worst gut punches as a teacher is getting a message or a call from a parent that makes you feel like you're bad at doing your job. Because obviously you're there to support your student. You take your student's word for whatever it is because you love them. They're your own. Like, I totally get that. But it's really hard sometimes when parents are focused in on their student's perspective and don't even think about how like, oh, there was an adult in the room. They probably handled it the way they should have. They don't think that. They just think, oh, my child came home and said this. It wasn't dealt with the way it needed to be dealt with. I'm like, just give me a second to let me tell you how it went down from an adult's perspective, please and thank you. So all that to say, just giving the benefit of the doubt to the teacher, because they are a professional in the classroom. They went to school to get a degree just like you did to do your job in whatever facet you work in. So just treating them with patience and with care and having that open line of communication.
For classroom resources, over 90% of teachers spend their own money on school supplies and other items that are needed throughout the calendar year. So how can we keep providing that support and giving you as teachers the resources and materials that you need like regularly? Because that's something that should be a given baseline for you.
I think from like first year teacher Jenna talking, it was always hard when parents asked me what they could do for me because I was figuring out step by step. I did not know what I needed from them. I knew that they were being kind and like it would help me, but I just didn't have the capacity to know what I wanted from them. So that was really hard as a first year teacher, just being like, I'll let you know. Thank you so much for being kind. As the year went on, though, some little things that helped so much. At my school that I was at last year, we had a parent come in once a week to make all of our copies for the entire third grade, which was so awesome. So we didn't have to spend our prep period or spend before school or after school making copies. We would just like print off one master copy of everything we were going to do from the Monday, Friday to the next week. And they would just sit in the copy room for like an hour and a half on Friday mornings and do it for us. And it was like the most beautiful thing. One of my students' parents from last school year also brought in snack to my room all the time. I never like sent out anything saying that I was taking donations for snack or like that we had a specific snack time. She would just literally come to my room in the morning sometimes, give me 2 full grocery bags from Kroger and be like, hey, use these whenever you need them. I would like put everything in my little cabinet, and then every once in a while, if we were having a good day or a bad day, needed to pick me up, or the kids were grouchy, like I would just say, all right, we're doing snack time for the next 10 minutes and then we can get back to learning.
And what about, for year end and just the ideal gift for a teacher?
I know like a standard teacher thing is like Starbucks gift cards. Personally, I love it because I'm obsessed with coffee. I drink coffee all day long. The biggest piece of advice I have is your student's teacher probably at the beginning of the year did like a meet the teacher and has like where they went to school and all the things they're interested in and those sorts of things. It's like almost a trend to do it. Like there's really cute templates online that you can do. If you go back to like the beginning of the year information, or if they sent out like a blurb about themselves at the beginning of the year, if you do something that's like customized to things that they like my favorite candy is Kit Kat. So if a student brought me like a big bag of Kit Kats, I'd be like, oh, you know me. Like, that's so sweet. It's not just like a lotion or something. It's like, that my favorite candy is Kit Kat. So like anything that's just like special to the teacher or something that your student has noticed about your teacher. It's just the little extra connection of meaning there is what means the world to me personally as a teacher.
I wanted to also just touch on how, the U.S. is kind of faring in academics, because this is something that, we can, of course, read up on. But it says that overall scores in 2022, the average math score for students was 465 out of 1,000, which is 18 points lower than in 2003. And I know COVID did a number on learning and how our kids learn, because, they had parents teaching them and not qualified teachers like you around the clock and had to learn online and remotely. So how do we get them to catch up?
That is a great question. I wish I knew. Unfortunately, being such a young teacher, I never got to see what teaching was like before COVID. A lot of teachers are like, oh, it's so different now than it was back then. And I don't have that perspective. I just know what I'm doing now. We're working hard to bridge that gap in any way we can. Last year, we did so many remediation groups for different students who needed different skills and like spiral reviews of different things. We prepped those kids so hard for state testing last year, especially being a third grade teacher. There's like that third grade specific test that they take depending on whatever state you live in. So a lot of at least third grade was just test prep, which is great because the students are getting that education. Like it's not just like they're goofing off at school, like they are getting it done. But also it's hard for a 8-9-year-old to be grilled on these state tests that are so hard for students these ages. They're expected to write like a 2-paragraph essay comparing 2 different articles, and they have to use different facts and how they're similar and different. I'm like, they're 9 years old and they're tired at the end of the school year.
At Carnegie Learning, we would love to see testing go away. It's like our dream. I talked a little bit about the AI that powers some of our products and that it helps capture the data around, where the student's getting stuck or asking for hints. And it's real-time data available to teachers that's showing them like the skills that they need a little work on or where they're excelling. Like here's where you can push them. So the kids that are doing really well can continue forward. The kids that are behind can also catch up while the kids that are ahead can continue to excel. So, and all that data is available for teachers so they know exactly where those skills are lacking or where they can help. And it could replace testing data too. Like we have, the software is asking the same questions that are trying to align to the standards that they need to meet in that state. So can we get rid of testing at some point and just, use all this technology we have, use the data to see where kids are? Our curriculum is on grade level, and it's very surprising that a lot of students are not being taught on grade level content. They are, being taught maybe the previous year, but they're, it's because they're behind. And instead of us trying to push forward and say, like, this is what they need to learn right now, and they can do it, we can believe in our students and they can do it, we're protecting them a little bit, and we're not pushing them in that way. We're not challenging them that way. So our curriculum is on grade level. And, if you have the tools and the resources and the professional development, all of those pieces together, the teacher is empowered to do it and the students are motivated, it's the perfect combination and the perfect classroom experience. So
I want to ask you both your mom sense moment. And if you could share just one nugget where you were like, I trusted that intuition, that mom sense, and it steered me on the right course.
I would say my mom sense moment was knowing that Benny was going to be okay in school. Like, all of those fears that I talked about with, is he going to make friends? And is he going to have that moment where he just wants to quit and he hates learning? Or is he going to have trouble? Like, is he going to struggle in certain subjects? Or is he going to lose interest? I mean, all of these things that are still fears, like still thoughts. I can't wait for that teacher conference to learn like more about how he's doing in the classroom. But, it was that little moment where his teacher just sent me that email, like just to tell me he was okay. And like, I just knew that our kids are in good hands at these schools. These schools are full of people who just want the best for these students. And we as parents need to help them. We need to be on that learning path with them. We need to label all the clothes and pack those healthy lunches and empty the take-home folder and make sure all the homework is done. Talk about what they learned. Celebrate the good, let them have that productive struggle and figure things out on their own. Don't hold their hands too tight. Like all of those things, are going to help teachers make your child successful in the classroom. And we're a big part of that. We're not just letting our kid go in the hands of these perfect strangers. These are people who are living and breathing education and understand what's best for our kids. And, just that moment of, I'm going to let go and I'm going to believe that this school and Mrs. K are going to take care of Benny and he's going to be just fine.
Oh, that's so sweet. One of those moments where I've been like, I'm doing the right thing. I know how to read these children. I know how to reach them where they are. It's when I can take a step back and know when students need a laugh, or know when students need a movement break, or when students need to talk to each other for a minute instead of focusing so hard. Like the biggest memories that I have from my first year of teaching, yes, I remember the meltdowns. I remember the fights. I remember all of the bad things. But I hope that I will continue to remember all of the silly, goofy moments that I've had with them. And that's something that I'm proud of in creating. And hopefully they'll remember those memories too.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. And I'm taking cues from that too. I think that oftentimes when, we're faced with a challenge, you can turn it into this teachable moment where you're like, you know what? We don't have to think about this and sit in this tense moment. It's like, let's dance. Let's move our bodies and do something fun and not have to obsess. I think that's such a great cue. And teachers do that so well because they have a swath of students they have to do this for. And it's like, wow, we can definitely copy paste and do that at home with our kids one-to-one. And mine was, every first, week of school, the nerves are high. And I remember just the first year that my twins started kindergarten, my daughter was having a really rough time and was crying a lot and was just not in her element in this new school. And of course, I talked to her homeroom teacher and the principal and the aides and got to know everybody really well. But I leaned in and thought, I think she just needs a day and a weekend with me. where we just go to a park. We had ice cream. We went to a little store, bought a journal. And so in that journal, I write her entries. She writes me them. We draw each other pictures back and forth. And there was a shift, and she was like in her element again at school. And I was like, wow, I'm so glad that like somehow I knew that she just needed some one-on-one time to feel seen, because she was getting lost in the big world and the big school.
That actually reminds me, there is a like management relationship teacher strategy that's very popular. It's called the 2x10 strategy. And last year, my school, like we did like a month challenge where we had to do the 2x10. And basically, we pick a student that we think would benefit from a one-on-one connection, just like you just described with your daughter. And every day for 10 days, you spend 2 minutes uninterrupted just talking to that student and nobody else. And you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, just so they feel seen and you're building that relationship. So that was just funny that like you're describing how you're building your relationship with your daughter in that sense. And teachers are taught the exact same thing.
Wow. I love it. And it worked. And then no more tears and we're good. So yeah, that's really, really amazing. And I appreciate the teachers want to provide that individualized attention when they can.
Yeah, especially in these large classrooms we're seeing nowadays.
Oh my God, I know.
Yep. Exactly. Any parting words that you have for the audience about year one? Because I'm so happy that they get to hear about it. It's like the behind the scenes, the after show that they're getting from our conversation today. But what would you want to just share with them about what this podcast means to you?
It means a lot to me. Like that, my first year of teaching is something that I'm going to remember forever, especially now that it's literally documented. And I think that it's so special that it is documented in that way and that it's accessible to anyone, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, whether you're a grandparent, whether you want to become a teacher. It can be listened to by so many different lenses. And I think that's what makes it really unique and really special. And that's why I'm excited to share it.
The thing I'm most proud of in my professional career is this podcast, because it is so just authentic and it's not being driven by some revenue goal or product sales. Like we don't even talk about products or anything like that. We just want to tell the teacher story. We want teachers to feel seen. That's it. That is so pure. And it just it's a different type of marketing strategy to just make an audience that you really care about. It's different. It's a different type of marketing strategy for, the motivation just to be about the audience we're targeting and the value we can bring by just telling a teacher story. We took a risk. We're like, we could definitely pick a teacher that's going to quit and hates this job because it's hard. We're seeing it all the time. But there was something about Jenna that we just knew that wasn't going to happen. And we, put a lot of trust in her, and her story is a beautiful one and she's continuing her career. And we're so happy to, be part of her story and hopefully more stories of teachers who, stay in the classroom and keep fighting the good fight. But, as a parent, it had a really big impact on me and how I just want to support Benny and when Ada starts school, just be there and, for him and for the school and for teachers. And I want other parents to listen to it too and maybe take that away and maybe, there's a little bit more of a connection we can help build between teachers and parents. So I hope your listeners take that away with them and listen to the podcast so that they can have some empathy for teachers and understand where they're coming from and, be a good partner to them.
Yes. And I couldn't agree more. It's such a joy working with the two of you and our teams because, I'm in the business of storytelling and I feel like this is one that hits home and it's so close to my heart because as a parent, you just want the best for your kids and teachers want the exact same thing. And to create this trifecta, as I said in the beginning, is so critical. When you have one link missing, the kid doesn't have what they deserve and something falls short. And so it's really beautiful that we get to come together in this way. And it's all for the kids. We're in it for the kids. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you got some great takeaways from our conversation. Join my community by logging on to thatstotalmomsense.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast, wherever you listen, and be sure to rate and review. On socials, my handle is at Kanika Chadda Gupta on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and X. You can also find me on LinkedIn. My episode videos are on YouTube and YouTube podcasts with highlights on YouTube Shorts. Write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com. My team and I read all your pitches and feedback and are so glad to be in touch. Remember, always trust your mom sense and dad sense. Stay strong, super parents. See you soon.